Imagine that a researcher interviews 12 students at one university and announces social media weakens the religious identity of Indonesian university students. It sounds like a finding, perhaps even a headline, but should we trust it? 12 students may provide rich testimony, yet were the interviews consistent? Did the questions really investigate religious identity? Can this group represent students throughout Indonesia? Would other evidence support or complicate this conclusion? Before asking whether the claim is interesting, we must ask whether the evidence can carry its weight. Hello, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Abdullah Muslim Rizal Mulana, a lecturer and researcher at the Department of Comparative Study of Religions, University of Dar es Salaam, Guntur. In episode 3, we have learned that qualitative, quantitative, and mixed methods research produce different forms of evidence. The research question reminds the judge of which design fits. But choosing a suitable method is only the beginning. Before, during, and after data collection, we have to evaluate the quality of the evidence and the claims built upon it. In this episode, we will use four connected ideas: reliability, validity, generalization, and triangulation. Each idea asks a different question. Reliability asks, was the research process sufficiently consistent, documented, and dependable? Validity asks, are we genuinely investigating what we claim to investigate? Generalization asks, how far may the finding responsibly travel beyond the cases studied? Triangulation asks, what becomes feasible when different sources, methods, researchers, or theories are placed in dialogue? These are related questions, but they are not interchangeable. Reliability commonly refers to consistency and stability. Would a comparable procedure produce reasonably comparable evidence at another time with another subgroup or when examined by another researcher? For instance, in quantitative research, reliability might involve applying a clearly constructed questionnaire consistently to every respondent. If measurement changes unpredictably between groups, comparison becomes doubtful. In qualitative research, on the other hand, reliability does not mean that everyone must tell the same story or that researchers must erase their perspectives. Religious life is contextual and sometimes contradictory. Consistency of procedure is not sameness among participants. Return to our opening claim. Imagine that the researcher measures a religious identity using only one question. How many religious influencers do you follow? The answer may be accurate, but is it a valid measure of religious identity? Following 10 religious accounts may indicate commitment, curiosity, disagreement, entertainment, or even preparation for criticism. The number alone, therefore, cannot decide the meaning. A more valid design would first define religious identity. Does it concern belief, ritual practice, communal belonging, moral commitment, public expression, or self understanding? Its indicators and interpretations must correspond to that definition while acknowledging what it may exclude. Clean data are not automatically valid data. A perfectly administered questionnaire can still measure the wrong thing. Validity then asks whether the evidence warrants the interpretation being made. Validity concerns the accuracy of the connection between an indicator, an interpretation, and the concept it is supposed to represent. A procedure can be reliable, consistently producing the same result, yet still be invalid because it measures the wrong thing. Generalization concerns the application of findings beyond the sample studied. But not every study generalizes in the same way. Quantitative research may pursue statistical generalization. A carefully selected sample is used to estimate a pattern in a larger population. That requires serious attention to sampling, representativeness, measurement, and uncertainty. Our 12 students cannot automatically represent all Indonesian university students across different regions, institutions, religious traditions, social classes, and digital cultures. A national conclusion would then exceed the evidence. Qualitative research usually makes a different contribution. 12 carefully studied participants may illuminate how students negotiate religious authority, how an influencer becomes trustworthy, or why digital participation changes offline belonging. Such findings may support transferability or analytical generalization by identifying meanings, mechanisms, or theoretical patterns for examination elsewhere. Clear contextual description helps readers judge where the insight may or may not apply. The goal then is not to make every finding universal. The goal is to make the scope of the claim honest. Triangulation borrows its logic from locating an unknown point from more than one position. In research, it places different forms of evidence or interpretation into deliberate dialogue. There are several major forms of triangulation. First, data triangulation. Data triangulation uses evidence from different participants, times, places, or source materials. Second, methodological triangulation. Methodological triangulation uses more than one method. For example, interviews with observation or content analysis. Methods within the same qualitative or quantitative family may form within method or multi-method triangulation. Deliberately integrating qualitative and quantitative methods produce between method triangulation and may form a mixed methods design. Third, investigator triangulation. Investigator triangulation involves more than one researcher in collecting or interpreting data. Fourth, theory triangulation. Theory triangulation examines the phenomenon through more than one conceptual perspective. Triangulation may be simultaneous, with several forms of evidence collected all together, or sequential when one method prepares questions or samples for another. In our example, a survey might associate following religious influencers with self-report identity. Interviews could investigate what following and identity mean. Digital observation could examine the content and students' interactions. Another researcher or theory might expose assumptions hidden in the first interpretation. If all forms of evidence converge, confidence in the interpretation might increase, but triangulation is not simply a vote in which the majority wins. If the survey, interviews, and observation disagree, that contradiction may expose a hidden distinction, a weak indicator, or a difference between what people say and what they do. Triangulation is valuable because it can depend, clarify, challenge, and sometimes transform the original explanation. Triangulation is powerful, but it is not compulsory in every project. It requires time, funding, technical competence, access, and sometimes additional researchers. Without a clear purpose, can produce more data but less coherence. A weak survey doesn't become strong merely because it is placed beside a weak interview. If the methods never interact in analysis, they have not genuinely triangulated the evidence. As we have emphasized in episode 3, the research question reminds the judge: use triangulation when multiple positions are necessary to understand the problem. not merely to make the project appear more sophisticated. Before accepting a research conclusion, apply four questions. First, reliability. Was the procedure sufficiently consistent, documented, and reflexive? Second, validity. Do the indicators and interpretations genuinely address the concept and claim? Third, generalization. Is the claim scope proportionate to the sample, context, and design? Fourth, triangulation. Has another source, method, researcher, or theory been used where appropriate to confirm, deepen, or challenge what appears to be known? Notice that no single answer guarantees quality. A reliable measurement might still be invalid. A valid case study might still support only a limited claim. Triangulated evidence might still be poorly integrated. Trust emerges from the complete chain: question, design, evidence, analysis, and claim. Reliable research shows how its evidence was produced. Valid research demonstrates that the evidence fits the interpretation. Responsible generalization respects the boundaries of the study. Thoughtful triangulation places different perspectives into meaningful dialogue. So this session concludes our introductory sequence on the foundations of research methodology in religious studies. From here, we can move from research design to the specific approaches and methods used to investigate religion as text, experience, community, practice, and even live reality. So thank you for watching. Continue asking not only what did the researcher find, but also how far can the evidence support the claim and why should it be trusted. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.